I was listening to a podcast breaking down Genesis, and one thing stuck with me. The guy said the Bible never actually explains how the cosmos itself came to be. Just in the beginning, God created, and that's it. No mechanisms, no structure, just it happened. And maybe that's intentional. Maybe we weren't supposed to ask, but Gnosticism asks anyway, and it actually answers. Today, we're building the whole cosmos from scratch, the Gnostic way. Hit it.
You are now watching Neon Arcana.
We begin with starting where Genesis doesn't. Genesis starts with a finished creator already in motion. God speaks, light appears, done. There's no explanation of what existed before that moment. No account of where this creator God himself came from. Gnostic cosmology, especially the Valentinian school, starts further back than that, before the creator God of the Genesis even existed. This starts at the actual source. I remember when I was younger, it did give me a puzzling question feeling all the time. Like, okay, so God created all this reality, but we don't know how the rest of it began. It's like starting a show midpoint, like, hey, we're here just making stuff now. Creating a way how you wanted to see all those before story. You don't need to worry about that. And it would always bug me, like, okay, is there a God before God and this and that, and how did the whole space and time get created? And we just skipped all that part and just went like, nah, man, we're just gonna start with this amazing little plane of reality where we can put a moon there and a sun there and little stars everywhere. So let's build it in order, layer by layer, the way the Gnostics actually mapped it out. Which brings us to the monad. Before anything, at the very top, before anything else exists, there's the monad, the one, the unspeakable source, not a being with a form, not a personality, not even really a thing in the way we understand things. It's pure, undivided existence, silence, depth, the ground, everything else eventually emerges from. It's like I stated in my last video, if you haven't seen it, popping up right here. They got Gnosticism wrong. Check it out after this video if you want. Just more little fun. But this is like the whole point. You can't describe the one. The moment you label it, you've missed it. That's actually the whole teaching of like the one. Nothing in Genesis prepares you for this layer. This is before God, the creator. This is before creation was even a concept, which brings us to the aeons, consciousness emanating outward. Existence doesn't just jump straight to a physical universe. It unfolds gradually through beings called aeons. Aeons aren't planets or angels in the traditional sense. They're more like dimensions of divine consciousness emanating outward from the source in pairs. Barbelo, Nolos, Nous, Aletheia, Logos, and more, building what's called the pleroma, the fullness. If you're having a hard time picturing how like it all works or how this concept is, they're like amazing, beautiful consciousness that are creating these amazing realities. It's like for example, a single note, right, in music, slowly building into a full symphony, right? It all starts with that tiny little, what's the first instrument that usually starts? The drums, maybe. Okay, like a drum, boom, boom. That starts as the beat, as like a heartbeat, and slowly they start adding more different instruments that go along with the beat, and that's how creation works. Everything just has to flow with the rhythm and go in motions. That's why so many things are so connected, because this is how they slowly figured out how reality is shaped to do and why things work the way they have to, why there has to be death and why there has to be life and so forth. This is the part the Bible skips entirely. There's no pleroma in Genesis. No layered unfolding of divine consciousness before the physical world shows up. Gnosticism fills that entire gap. Which brings me to Sophia's fall. So how do we go from this perfect unfolding fullness of divine consciousness to the messy physical world we actually live in? Sophia, the youngest of the aeons, she attempts to create, to emanate something without her divine counterpart, acting alone out of a desire to know the source directly, fully, on her own terms. Now, a lot of people, or the old Gnostics, like to think about it like as this was a sinful act on her part, but I don't think that way. People were a little harsher back then. They weren't as open as we are nowadays, which is awesome. But I see it more as of putting myself in her shoes. With such amazing, beautiful powers that you can manifest anything you wanted, you just get overexcited, right? She is the youngest one of them all. And you know how we are as children. We always have so much excitement. Our imagination just runs so wild and amazing at creating anything that our little minds can think of. And the same goes for her, as above, so below, because she just got a little too enthusiastic and got too ahead of herself and bit off more than we can chew. And that's perfectly fine. How many times of any of us have been bitten off too much we can chew, and you've been like, man, what was I thinking? But I'm glad it worked out the way it did, right? Because then we wouldn't be here. Getting back to it, she was doing all this because she just got too excited. There's nothing wrong with that. It was an actual yearning and wanting to understand the create independently how it feels to be creator, but she just wasn't at the right spot. The desire itself wasn't wrong. It was unbalanced without her partner being there, the partnership. And that act, creation attempted alone without balance, produced something flawed. She created it unbalanced because her partner wasn't there. Each aeon has to have a partner. There's a masculine and a female aspect that need to go together, right? And she just went on her way and just did it by herself, making an imbalance. You can't have a structure without just only one puzzle piece. It's like putting just one half of the yin and yang sign on there and leaving the rest open. It's not going to work. It doesn't make the connection whole. And that act, creation attempted alone without balance, produced something flawed, something formless. That flawed emanation eventually became the Demiurge. The Demiurge, sometimes called Yaldabaoth, is born from imbalance. He doesn't know where he came from. He's completely cut off from the awareness of the pleroma, from Sophia, from the monad. So he does the only thing he knows how to do. He builds. He creates a material universe, matter, physical law, time, space, using fragments of the divine energy that got tangled up in his own creation without even realizing what he's working with. This is your jealous God, right? The line goes, I am God, and there is no other God besides me. Not because it's true, but because it's generally all he can perceive from where he's standing. Like, think of it as if you were standing in a dark room, but you're the only one there, just standing there, so you must be the creator of that dark room, right? And because it's for all you've known, it's just been there since you've been there. You just popped up and boom, reality's just started happening. You started thinking and looking around, and that's the same thing the Demiurge is doing, aka Yaldabaoth. He's doing the same thing. He doesn't know any better because he doesn't understand that he's too blinded. He's looking down but not looking up, unless he's like genuinely like not wanting to look up. But I'm getting ahead of this stuff. This is the part where Genesis picks up the story. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Except from the Gnostic lens, that's not the true God speaking. That's the Demiurge. Several layers down, the actual source, building a world without knowing there was ever anything above him. Which brings me to us, the sparks trapped in the structure. Let me explain. So where do we come in, right? When the Demiurge builds this material reality, fragments of the original divine light that traces back through Sophia, through the aeons, all the way to the monad, got woven into the structure, into us. We're not just random biological accidents in this system. We're divine fragments imbued in a structure built by a being who didn't even know what he was working with. As is like you give like a little kid Minecraft and just starts walking around and starts creating a world, the same concept, just making things happen without realizing how they were working and why. Say, well, I'm the one controlling this reality or playing the game, making what I want, and it's working, so why not? That's why Gnosis feels like remembering instead of learning something brand new, because some part of you already came from up there. This whole life is the process of that spark finding its way back up through the layers it originally came down through. So why didn't the Bible just say this? It all starts back to that podcast question. The person said, why doesn't Genesis explain any of this? A few possibilities. Maybe this is deeper cosmology existed in oral or mystical traditions that never made it into the version of the text that became official scripture. Maybe it was intentionally left out by whoever decided what got canonized and what got buried. Or maybe, and this is the version I find most interesting. Genesis was never meant to be read as a technical cosmology in the first place. It's a surface story, and the deeper structure was meant to be discovered by those actually seeking it, not handed out for free. I really genuinely think that this got left out or buried because the churches didn't want this coming out. The people who ever wrote the Bible or studied all this did not want this part of the story to make it to the free version. I'm guessing because it would confuse too many people. They'd be asking too many questions. But actually, if you think about it, it fills in a lot of answers because you do see in the Bible, it says gods, or they look like us. We made them in our image and all this jazz. It makes too much sense when you start looking at it from this Gnostic lens. Either way, the gap the podcast pointed out is real. The Bible doesn't explain the cosmos, but it was never the only text written by people thinking about this. And once you know where to look, the fuller picture was there the whole time. So now you know. Monad, Aeons, Pleroma, Sophia's fall, the Demiurge, and us, carrying pieces of the original light back through the very structure it fell through. That's the cosmos, Gnostic style. If this filled in a gap for you, let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you on the next one. Hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you want to go check out any of the other ones, here are some. Once again, you guys have a wonderful day, night, or evening.
Neo Nomad out.
Peace.